Welcome everyone to another edition of the Get Up and Go Show. I am Anne Marie of The Art of Healing. And today I have the fun pleasure of interviewing a sweet dear friend of mine, Rosemary Godden. And she has always intrigued me. I've known her online for a while, and then I had the distinct pleasure of meeting her in person last October or November. And she is just an intriguing person, an exquisite channeler, and an all-around beautiful light being. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Miss Rosemary Godden. And welcome, Rosemary, to the Get Up and Go Show.
I am delighted to be here. Thank you very much for inviting me.
Oh, I was just saying in the intro that we knew each other online for a little while, but then we got to actually meet each other, which was so wonderful because I didn't expect to see you where I saw you.
That's right.
Yeah, so tell everyone a little bit about yourself.
Well, it's hard to know where to start and what to say, really. I mean, given that I am of a certain age, I grew up in England, which explains my accent. But I also spent quite a few years in Australia, which makes it a little bit of a Heinz 57 variety when it comes to speaking. The tireder I get, the flatter my vowels get, and I sound more Australian. So I have no idea what I sound like at the moment, but I have spent most of the first part of my life traveling, and as I said, I lived in Australia, then I went back to England for a short period, lived in Europe for 5 years. Then I went back to England because I thought I ought to start thinking about growing up. Then I met and married my husband at the time. I had 2 beautiful daughters, moved to France, spent 4 years there. Then I moved to Canada, which is where I am now. And this is the longest I have ever been anywhere in my life. In August, it will be 21 years that I've lived here.
Oh my goodness, wow.
Yeah.
That's an accomplishment.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And the other accomplishment is in 2.5 weeks' time, I retire after being in the same job for 20 years.
Oh my goodness. Well, congratulations on that.
Yes.
Because that is a very, very big deal.
Totally. I hesitated when I said the same job because it hasn't technically been the same job, but the same environment. Okay. So I work in a maximum security prison. Wow. And so that's where I've been for the last 20 years. So I've done my life sentence.
Oh my gosh.
Released, or about to be released.
What did you do in this maximum security prison?
I started off as a contract teacher, and I did that for almost 7 years. And then I actually became employed by the federal government, and I was a program facilitator. And then I became a program manager, and then I did harassment. I was the harassment coordinator for the region.
So did you harass people? Is that what you're saying?
I'm pretty good at harassing. And then I went back to teaching, and I've been teaching again for the last, I want to say, almost 4 years. I think it's 4 years or it's 3 years. I can't remember. It all melds into one. So
wow.
Yeah.
And I, of course, know you through our spiritual community. How long has that been a part of your life?
I would say probably about 15 years.
Oh, wow.
I mean, I've always been connected per se, and but never directly. And then I was in Australia one time, and I went with a friend to visit a medium, and it was quite amusing. The medium did a reading for me, and she said, "You've got healing hands and you need to do healing." Well, I had been told quite a few times over the years since I was quite young that I had healing hands. But
Wow.
anyway, this particular reading, it was really funny because I actually got quite irritated with the guides or whoever were coming through, and I went, "I've heard this so many times, but what am I supposed to do with that?"
Yeah.
And they said, "Oh, well, you could start with Reiki." So, and I had never heard of Reiki. So I went back to my place of living, and I can't remember where it was at the time, but I went back and I started looking up Reiki. And then I thought, oh, I should see if there's anyone near me that teaches it. Well, there was a lady half an hour from where I lived, and who was about to start a class about, I don't know, a week after I got home. So I thought, oh, okay, I'm obviously meant to do this. So I signed up, and she was just, she is still a beautiful instructor. And I took Jikiden Reiki with her. And I think for me, that was the beginning of being part of the spiritual world, hands-on, literally.
Yeah.
Right. So, yeah.
It's a very, very similar story, very similar to my own story, what you just said. With the whole synchronicity of somebody telling you in a reading that you should be doing Reiki and you not knowing what Reiki was, and then a class opening up within a week, that is identical to my story. You didn't even know that, did you?
No, totally not.
Oh,
No.
you see? How cool is that?
I know, totally. And then probably about 5 years ago, you know Jan Morrison through the Tina Spalding Facebook group that was a few years back. Well, Jan and I had the same instructor, same Reiki instructor. And one time Jan was doing a class and she needed an extra person. So Mary, our instructor, had put out this message saying, "Can anyone help Jan?" And it happened to be a day where I had nothing on, and I thought, sure, I can do this. Well, we had a lovely day, and I was part of the group instruction. And then once the day came to an end, Jan said, "Got something you've got to see." And she showed me one of Tina's YouTube sessions, and I was totally hooked. I became all invested in it. I read all her books, watched, I don't know, hundreds of her free YouTube channels, and joined her group I think I was with her group for about 3 years. And that's how it evolved, right? Because through the group, I met people like yourself, Garrett, Gail, Carol Morgan, who else? And Kelsey, of course, my soul sister.
Oh.
And Anna Greta. So, in fact, I think I was one of Anna Greta's first victims when she started officially publicly channeling for people. So, yeah. So it's been such a wonderful journey. I've had so much fun. And of course, the Reiki evolved as well, which I'm sure it did for you.
Yes. So one of the wonderful things about, I believe, being a part of this particular spiritual group is that it becomes like a channeling factory. The members who join eventually come into their connection and begin to channel. And so when did you begin to channel?
Through Fran. And that, in fact, I was looking that up the other day when, because I was talking to Carol about it on one of her panels, and it was September 2017. Okay. And Fran was again through Tina's site. Fran was helping people to channel, and I was pushed into doing that by my guides, very reluctantly.
Well,
And
describe that for me. Like, if you weren't channeling, how could you be pushed to do something by your guides? How did you describe that?
oh, because I I remember describing it to Bernie one time when we were at Anna Greta's retreat, and it's like I get this whittering in my ear, and it's a constant. Oh, you really should think about doing this, you know, and so that's when I know that I'm being pushed to doing something, right? It's when I get that constant. Yeah,
So you had like, it was
a good idea.
like a clairaudient. You would hear
Yes.
something. Ah, you see? Okay. All right. Very good.
But I usually try and ignore it to my detriment. To my detriment. I have one beautiful example of that. I love to go to Bali, and I get up early in the morning, have my cup of coffee, and then there's a beautiful walk, because I stay in Ubud normally, and there's a beautiful walk on the Champung Ridge. And where we stay, I mean, it's a good, I suppose, hour and a half walk for me, but where we stay, it's obviously very hilly in Ubud because it's in the mountains. And so I have this sort of trudge up the hill, trudge down the hill, and then along across the river, and then up past a temple, and then it's very uphill for quite a while, and then you flatten out onto this ridge. So it's very good. It's very good for my legs and for my lungs. And I would do this every morning. And it was my last morning in Ubud, and I was due to fly home that day. And I had this little voice going, don't forget to take your credit card. And I went, I don't need to take my credit card. And it went, I think you should take your credit card. And I went, no, I'm going home today. I don't need to do any shopping. I'm fine. Anyway, I do my little uphill, downhill, and I get halfway down the steep downhill, and I went, oh, I did need my credit card. I have to get some cash so I can pay the driver to take me to the airport. So I went and did my walk, and then I ended up having to redo most of the walk so that I could go to the cash machine to get the money. So I went, okay, I will try and be better next time.
So it basically said, we're talking to you for a reason. Hello.
But no, I know better. Well, my ego does, right? And it was just so funny because I just went, oh gosh, you must be rolling your eyes now.
Well, that's fantastic. So since you've been channeling, you were a clairaudient. Were you always a clairaudient? Did you always hear things in your ear?
Possibly, but I can't say I took much notice.
I'm sorry. How could you not take notice of another voice in your head? Because, you know, people like me, I mean, I would take quite a bit of notice, darling. Hello, Twitter. Come on.
No. Possibly, but I mean, maybe I did take notice. I have no idea. Not consciously.
So cute.
Possibly unconsciously, I would. No, I would say definitely unconsciously I would listen, because, you know, I've done so many fantastic things over the years, and sometimes I'd go, oh, how did I manage that, right? So you know, I've lived in some of the most beautiful parts of the world.
I just want to get on record, Rosemary, that the next time you go to Bali, you must take me with you.
I know. Jan has already said the same thing.
All right.
So once all this
go together.
Yeah, once all this madness stops, yes, we should go together.
Okay.
Jan will come along as well.
Good.
Yes.
Sounds wonderful. Now, you're just recently been very nudged, shoved, if we may say, to begin not only channeling your messages, but doing meditations. Talk to us about these new projects that you are working on.
Yes. Well, the meditations, they actually started about 2.5 years ago.
Oh,
And I actually have had, up until this madness, had two groups. I had a Wednesday group and a Sunday group. The Sunday group would meet once a month, and the Wednesday group basically twice a month. And just a small group, up to about 10 people at any time. And we would meet here, and I would do guided meditations. Initially, when I started, I obviously would panic, and I think the first couple, I would download a meditation. I would have something prepared, and then of course the little word and the little voices, they would go, "You don't need to do that. We'll help you," and so I decided to trust, and I start basically the guided meditations I do are channeled, really, and which can be quite interesting. And what I do love about it, I mean, it really depends on who comes through, and it can be dragons, whales, whatever, whoever comes through, and they never ever say who they are, but you can tell from the way that the meditation goes. But it's sort of, what I love about it is within the group, everybody hears something different. And when we usually do a sort of a feedback session after the meditation, and we all bring little goodies, and so we sit down with our little snacks, and then talk about what it's like, and some of the stories that come back, I'm just blown away. But it's funny how there's a lot of people hear something different and see something different, and their experiences are all different, and I just love that.
wow, that sounds really beautiful.
Yeah. And then the channeling itself, that started a little while ago, but I was definitely in the closet. I was hiding away. And so the universe would send me clients, and we would do what started off as Reiki sessions, but it actually became intuitive energy sessions. And then they evolved into incorporating light language and what else? Almost like a QHHT session.
Wow.
So the client would go into a meditative state, and then basically we would connect to higher self, and so that's how my work has evolved over the time.
Wow, that's wonderful.
Yeah, just some very, very serendipitous experiences, and I suppose just going with it, trusting and surrendering to the whole process, while thinking, oh my gosh, what am I doing? Am I crazy? Is this okay? And the universe, you know how it works. It's just wonderful, because I used to, after doing the energy work, and I think, is this normal? And then they get me to watch YouTube, and I'd go down the little rabbit hole, and then I'd see people doing the same thing or very similar, and I go, oh, that's okay. I'm not crazy. It's good.
That's such a beautiful, beautiful connection you have. Very beautiful connection.
Same for you then, hey?
I am not as confident as you are in that, but I do. I just feel like a happy little leaf flowing down a river. Wherever I go, I'm pretty happy going. It's all good.
Yeah.
I don't mind.
Yeah. And then this whole, with all the lockdowns and the social distancing, that's really when I was definitely pushed. And where, I mean, at Anna Greta's retreat, that was my sort of first real I mean, I actually, fortunately, before I went to Anna Greta's retreat, I did ask my group, would you mind if I channeled for you, just so that I have confidence, because I'd done it for one or two people, but to do it within a group for me was a little bit challenging. So therefore I tried it. And then of course, when we were at Anna Gretta's, I had so much coming in, and then
we all did, really.
it was amazing. Yeah. I know. It was very powerful for me, that whole retreat. Mm-hmm. And so therefore when I came back and really I started practicing more and listening more and trying to be good. And so when this social distancing and the virus and everything came up, then they were really insistent that I try and channel every day. And that's what I started doing. And that's where I, create the web page I created for a retreat that I was planning on having in August. Still hoping, but who knows. So I had created the web page, but then I went on to create the Facebook page and the Mighty Network page. Oh. And then just recently I have started doing the YouTube.
Okay. Well, channel. We'll most definitely have all those links down below this video. So anybody who is interested, they'll be able to check out your work and connect with you that way, right?
Thank you.
That'll be really lovely. So in this very weird time, and the whole point of this show is to discuss our motivators and the things that keep us in a positive mindset. Would you share with us some of the beautiful things that you do on a daily basis that give you the motivation to get up and go in your life?
Well, the fact that I don't have to go to work and I'm being paid to stay at home, number one. Because you know what? I think I've worked 7 days this year. Amazing, right? So what a great finale for me. That brings me great joy. I have a beautiful house, and so therefore, I am at home in my comfort zone. It's my little piece of paradise. I have a fairly large garden, and therefore I'm out working in the garden, creating and having just so much fun. I do a lot of hand crafts, and I do a lot of do-it-yourself. I have a fantastic workshop. I have most things that you would need to do woodwork, things like that. And what else? I walk. I go for a walk. I am 5 minutes away from the most beautiful lake, Harrison Hot Springs. And so I walk every day, even in the rain. And at the bottom of my road, I'm in the forest. I have the
I'm getting a download. Hold on. Oh, God. Boy, I just connected in with that energy, and it's just like, woo, all right.
I know.
Look what you did to me. You make me shake and shiver, darling.
Yes, I know. We lead each other astray. I still think we should have sat next to each other at the retreat.
Oh, you're such a delight. So, it's a beautiful thing to hear the journey of a person to where they are in such fulfillment. And a lot of times you don't hear that, or at least in media, you don't hear about the joys. You always hear about the tragedies. So this show is really trying to change that mindset and change that narrative to really, let's focus on the love. Let's focus on the joy. Let's focus on the inspiration. And it's such a beautiful, your story is just so gorgeous and beautiful. And you are gorgeous and beautiful as well.
Well, I had to follow your example. I did the hair, put on the lipstick.
Yeah.
And in a minute, after we finished, I'm going to be back to my dungarees and work clothes. And I'm going to have the neighbors looking at me thinking, what's the matter with her? She's got lipstick on.
Well, I tell you, I do reflect on that because not doing this show, I would not do my hair or makeup. And I really am much happier doing hair and makeup. So that makes me happy. That makes me feel human, believe it or not. I love it. I like it.
Yeah. Well, one of my other hats, because I have lots of different hats, is that I'm an ordained minister, and I do weddings. Obviously, not quite so many this year. I haven't done one since March. I have one in about 3 weeks, but I haven't done any since March. But I do weddings, which I just adore doing. I mean, being in the presence of so much love and happiness, it does my soul it's so healing. Anyway, because my local hardware store, they're used to me turning up, with the hair in a ponytail or in a plait and no makeup, just my rough dungarees and looking a mess. And then one time I went in just before I went to a wedding. They barely recognized me. It was just so funny. I said, yeah, I wash up well occasionally.
Yeah. Yeah, I get accused of that too. They're like, oh, Anne-Marie, you look good. I'm like, yeah. Well, my sweetheart, tell me about your mug of choice for our interview. Mine says every day is a gift, because indeed it is. So what does your mug symbolize for you and your beverage, please?
All right. Well, here's my mug. And I have quite a few of them. And they're made by a friend of mine who has a pottery just up the road from me. And I have lots and lots and lots of her items. I've got bowls and plates and just so much. And so this cup, I like drinking out of small cups. And I am very particular about how I drink certain things. So my coffee has to be served in a small cup like this. And my tea has to be served in, and I only brew it in teapots, unless I'm somewhere else, it has to be served in a glass, right? I have, here, I even bought one to show you.
Oh, how
right?
cool.
Very European.
Very European.
So I'm very particular about whatever I drink. My drinking, like even for my wine, I'm very particular about that. And so this goes all over the world with me. I have a little bag, and I grind up enough coffee. I use a ethical brand, and I grind up enough coffee. I take my cup. I have a little cafetiere, and I take that because I'm so worth it. All right. And I can't expect other people to serve me the coffee that I like. So therefore, I take the coffee, I take the utensils. My girls roll their eyes at me, but I don't care. I'm responsible for my own comforts.
That is so fantastic. My mom, lives with me, and in the little sink drainer, there is her cup, her mug, her coffee mug, her afternoon tea mug, her plate, and her dinner beverage little glass cup. Where is my plate? Where is my mug? Where is my plate? And I always tease her. I'm never going to tease her again. I'm like, okay, Nana. This morning she's like, you put it inside the dishwasher. And I was like, what are we gonna do, Ma? You have to eat off a different plate.
I know. It's so funny. We all have our little foibles.
Yes, our idiosyncrasies.
Yeah, and I'm good with that. If it makes my life happy,
yes,
why not? Right?
Thank you.
It doesn't harm anyone. And it might irritate people, Who cares?
A lot in my, that's a very good spiritual little point to talk about, because you have some people who are like, no, it doesn't matter. And then you have other people who are like, no, it matters. No, it does matter. If I choose to eat this or drink from this, I should have it. Doesn't hurt anybody, doesn't harm anybody. Good point, girlfriend.
Well, that's true. I mean, I was in the catering industry. Obviously, I don't know how many people haven't been waiters or waitresses or cooks or whatever. I mean, we've all done it, right? So for years, because I worked in Switzerland in this wonderful little hut up on the mountains, would have to ski to work and stuff like that. But I think when you've been in catering, that you get that eye for detail. And so therefore, when I eat or when I have people around to eat, I want it to be perfect, in the sense that the food, I want it to be presented. I want people to enjoy it and to sit and relax and feel that they're in a restaurant, and just enjoy, right? I mean, you can have the conversation, the wine, the food, and I want it to be an experience. And that's what I think life should be like. It should be enjoying the experience.
Yeah, I'm getting the nudge to if not channel, at least channel light language right now. So I'm gonna go for it. Let me just take a breath, because I have a feeling it's not just light language. Cara tia tucho, teriketaria ninya nenemarikia totorohe, asushutu terike asushamate terike. O meneteria ku tataraya tushu tate kataramete u asashe hesu. No, of course it is not just light language indeed. We are Anne-Marie's guides and teachers. We are the highway guides. We welcome this opportunity to address this other dear channel and to address this entire process that our dear one has taken on. Indeed, this metaphor of these vessels, these mugs, are such an important metaphor for what it is that is occurring in the collective at this time. You need to fill your vessels with what you are drawn to. As collective as this ascension is, it is an individual ascension. You are all your unique vessels. And indeed, put into that vessel what serves you, what delights you, what tastes wonderful, what satisfies beautifully. This is not about doing anything the same. This is as unique and individual as each and every human being on this planet. So we thank you for being drawn to this message. We thank you for being a part of this collective ascension. We thank our dear one. We thank this other dear, beautiful being that we are also involved with her soul group. These individuals are brought together spiritually for a reason, because they are in the fold of our greater collective work. Let us put it that way. So indeed, enjoy your beverage of choice. Enjoy filling your vessels with what you love, what motivates you, and brings you to your highest self. And that is all.
Fantastic.
Oh my gosh. Well, I haven't done that in a long time.
Lovely.
Ooh. How do you feel anything? Do you feel a nudge? A twitch?
Yes. All right. Yeah, so I'm going to do a little bit of like you. I'll do the light language. And my light language, of course, is a little different from yours, except every so often I get the one. But I'm going to use my light language just to center, and then we'll see who comes through. I have a feeling it might be the Arcturians, but we'll see, because I never know. Okay. Yes, we are indeed the Arcturian Council. Our dear one here, she quite correctly picked up that we would like to share a few words, and share a few words with those that will be viewing this session. We are delighted that you come and join us, and fear not the download that she has just given you. It will be available for you to activate and assimilate when you are ready, when you are drawn to see this. And we wish to reiterate that you are not meant to suffer. You are meant to experience joy. You are meant to experience happiness, kindness, peace, love. And that is what you should send out your intention for. It is your birthright. It is what you deserve. Create those thoughts, create those feelings. You are worth it. You are God. You come from God. You are love. You come from love. Remember that. And so it is.
Oh,
thank you. Thank you.
oh my gosh.
So
Fantastic. Ah, got like damp eyes. That's so beautiful. Thank you, Rosemary. Oh my gosh.
well, thank you for inviting me. And I took Margaret's advice, wore red.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wonderful. I'm so happy. All right, my love. Thank you for spending time with me. Thank you for doing this. Again, I am eternally blessed, as everyone else who tunes into these shows is and will be. And so I guess we'll have your links. Is there any other place that people can contact you besides the ones that we mentioned? Your website.
The website has an email address, and the information on our retreat, should we hold it this year, is on there as well. And basically I go through, the name that I use for everything is Connecting with Rala, and that is on the Facebook site, on the web page, and on the YouTube channel.
Well, again, I'll have all the contacts below. So thank you, Rosemary, one last time. Thank you, everyone, for staying with us and enjoying this beautiful expression of love. And I hope it motivates you to get up and go.
Okay. Bye, my darling.
Bye.
Bye.